kind of pisses me off, and it has nothing to do with you personally, but just, the fact that you can see that a portion of the government or something that the government does can be more streamlined, right? If they're saying like, oh, we can make it so much easier for all of you guys to build this, why can't they do that with the rest of the governmental structures? Why can't they do that with the rest of the structures in Florida? Why does it only have to be the one thing that would provide a benefit to corporations or people who want to build? Why not make things easier for people to, I don't know, register to vote, go to voting places, know where they're supposed to go, file complaints maybe that are going to be addressed, things that would actually benefit more so the people and constituents.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Only Lawsuits podcast. Today, it's just going to be myself, Farah, and Audie. Mike is on vacation, currently in South Florida, hunting for some lobster, or fishing for some lobster, I should say.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know.
Hunting, fishing, what is he doing?
I think it would be hunting.
Yeah, so hunting for some lobster. How successful were they yesterday, Audie?
From my knowledge, not that successful. I think only one that caught lobster was Mike, and they had to throw most of them back because they had eggs or they were too small.
They're too small. All right. Well, before we delve into lobster season, we have a few topics that we're going to discuss. I'm going to let Farah spearhead this first topic with Nolan Wells and the new developments of the case. So what's going on?
So this case has been really crazy. I think there's been new developments happening constantly. I feel like every time I open up Instagram or like looking at the internet or watching the news, there's always a new development. As you know, I can't remember the football player who was kneeling and
Colin Kaepernick.
Colin Kaepernick. He had paid for an individual autopsy for the Wells family, for Nolan to be to have a private autopsy because the state was not willing to do it. So he paid for that. So props to him for trying to help advance the cause for a young black male who is not getting. I mean, he's getting the attention, but it's for the wrong reasons because, all of the supposed perpetrators or friends of his that are with him, not only are they related to a judge, but they also happen to be Caucasian. So that's one of the biggest issues that we're facing with this case. Another thing now that we've found out, because like you said, apparently the body was found washed up, near the island or the isle that they were supposedly partying at. But there was a brand new clip that I saw. I think it was for Nancy Grace, and Tremont can pull up the video, where there was a call made out to the tow company for a sea tow for their boat, which kind of disputes the fact that they said that they weren't around him anymore. I don't know the exact timestamp for this, so maybe we can get into that or correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no timestamp for that. But they did say that they were not in his company and they had left a long time before he supposedly disappeared. So, Tremont.
Detail assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles?
What'd
Hello?
you say? Hey.
Yes. How far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
I know it's somewhat speculative because obviously anytime you put words with, something that you think you hear, you're going to automatically assume that is what was said. So that's a little bit skewed. But from what we do understand, from what Nancy Gray said, from the text we can read, it appears as though he was still on the boat at the time that they're asking for the tow. And it also seems, I don't know what you guys think about this, but to not know how far the water is coming up when you're asking for a tow seems a little suspicious to me. I don't know. Like, what do you guys think about that?
I mean, it does seem suspicious. The only thing is that though is like why why are they begging for him to get up if they're truly the ones that did it? I feel like if they were the ones that did it, you would just kind of want to be as far as possible and just throw his body off the boat and just get away. And I personally, if I were, I wouldn't be in contact with anyone, even if my boat was sinking. I would just go as fast as I can, get back wherever I can, and get out of that place as fast as possible so I have no connection to it. I feel like it's a little weird how if truly they did mean to kill him, that they're begging him to wake up and they're on the phone with Cito trying to get their boat moved out of the place, I don't know. I think it's a little weird.
So I believe there was a point to late that night or early in the morning that they had gotten the boat cleaned as well. So I don't know if you know about that. So if that plays a role in anything, I don't know if they actually were towed or not, because maybe they got it towed to a place and then had it cleaned. But to your point, I understand what you're saying. But even if they didn't mean to, they still didn't contact anyone regarding him being passed out, right? Even if the people who are saying, like, no, Nolan, wake up, all of these things, even if they didn't mean to, they also had the opportunity to call someone to try and attend to him.
And I'll say that their recollection of the events from what they have described to authorities has been dishonest. From what we're also hearing, from the audio transcript that we just saw. So even if they didn't mean for him to die, and whether it was an altercation, there's so many different things could have happened. It could have been an altercation. He could have fell, hit his head. Multiple scenarios. The fact that they have been dishonest from the very beginning, and now they've made their profiles private. There have been things that have been deleted. I did read something that when the parents finally got access to his Snapchat, all of the videos were deleted. So they're thinking that maybe the friends had something to do with deleting, all of those old social clips, and that's why what do they do? They filed suit against like Meta or these social media companies to get access to all of the accounts and all of the data that was on them.
Subpoena them.
Subpoena them. Yeah.
And I mean that's like a classic like no. Anytime you have to preserve evidence. It's obstruction of evidence, especially like in a criminal proceeding like that. I'm not a criminal lawyer, but I happen to know that is a huge issue that you can't really come back from. And then if they subpoena those records and it is incriminating, that's another charge added. So it's just not smart. Please don't ever do this if you get in trouble. But yeah, and then the other point also, I still don't understand that the Cito person is asking how far up the water it is. So it almost seems untruthful that the boat is even sinking. So wondering what the purpose of that call was, unless it was to establish like an alibi or something that, that they were having trouble with their boat, so that maybe they couldn't have been where they said Nolan was at the time that they left. But then, and the background is kind of disputing that.
Well, also though, I'm pretty sure they're intoxicated. Like even from the way he's talking and being very like he's not answering the questions. He seems like he's very all over the place. And it was also, I think, pitch black outside. It's pretty hard to see. I mean, I don't know what kind of boat they had. It could have been a nice boat that had lights and everything, but some boats don't have lights, So if it's dark outside, it's kind of hard to tell how high the water is,
They were in, I think it said in the rest of the clip, 31 feet of water.
I mean, so it just all depends, because we've been in situations where we go out fishing and when it's pitch black out, I mean, our boat has lights, so you can see inside, but when it's pitch black outside, and especially if there's no moon or anything, you can't see anything, like not even 7 feet out from the water. It's just black. So,
and you could tell by that phone call that the person calling in, they're also trying to process what's going on.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're in shock.
Yeah.
That they didn't anticipate that something like this would be happening. But I mean, there's just so much surrounding this case that we don't know. The fact that they are white, Nolan was black. There's the racial factor. There's the factor that these kids, they're related to a judge. Um, you mentioned cleaning the boat. This tow call, social media being deleted. So now everything is sort of coming to light. So I am curious to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, especially because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there a big difference between like if you kill someone intentionally and if it was accidental, but still it was done at the end of the day?
Yeah.
So I feel like
Yeah,
that would be
there's
a
a
big
huge
part.
difference. I mean, especially like with like first degree murder versus if it was unintentional. But the thing is, when you have all these other compounded issues, such as the cleaning, such as the deleting of the evidence, such as this tow call, it all kind of wraps up in a bow for the prosecution to say, this seems like even if it may not have been intentional, they did a whole bunch of stuff on the back end to try and cover it up, which can add on to make make the charges go up.
Yeah, that's true.
I wonder if if the Wells family subpoenaed Snapchat, Meta for the social media and the content that's on there. I wonder when you delete content off of like your personal social media profiles, whether that be Instagram or Snapchat, how long it stays on like a backup server before you can, before it's fully deleted, or when you delete it, is it fully deleted?
I think it's 30 days.
I don't think it's fully deleted because, first of all, whenever you sign up for these websites, people never read this stuff, but they can keep that information. They can keep it in their own like cloud or designated area for that, specifically just for these kinds of purposes. If they need to aid in a criminal investigation, with like the FBI or local law enforcement, anything like that. So in order to, I think, for these companies to be able to protect their own liability, I'm pretty sure they do have to keep it. But that is an interesting question for how long. I'm not sure. But I know they probably do for legal reasons.
They always tell you too, like whenever you click on the delete button, it's like this won't be permanently deleted for another 30 days. Like Instagram, if you try to delete your Instagram account, it will tell you like your account will, I forgot what the exact wording, but it pretty much tells you that your account won't be permanently deleted right now as you click delete. It will take like 30 days.
You still have 30 days to rescind the decision.
Yeah, either rescind the decision or if they're reviewing something and stuff like that.
I mean, but just know, first of all, I think it's, and kids do this all the time, it's so stupid when you post things on Snapchat, on the internet, and you think it's going to be private. And like, just know anytime you put something on the internet, it's going to be there forever. It's never going to be deleted completely, no matter how hard you try, unless you have some type of FBI profiler like skills or something.
It is crazy to see how each generation interacts with social media, because I've never been a big Snapchat person. I think that's like that's for the generation that came after me. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, but there are a lot of young kids in high school that are just on Snapchat all the time. Caden is actually one of those kids who's on Snapchat all the time. And TikTok, right? So I mean,
when Snapchat first came out, like I think it was popular with our generation, but like I thought it died once like Instagram became popular. So I almost never check my Snapchat anymore. But I've seen so many documentaries online. There was also another one with and I'm not going to go too much into detail into this, but with the Murdaugh murders, they actually used one of the Snapchats of the son to prove like the timeline of his death as well. So online and social media, all of this stuff is being used constantly by law enforcement to be able to help in these like criminal investigations and cases. So please be careful with what you're posting out there.
Yeah. I mean, crazy stuff with that case. Well, one thing that Audie did bring up, and this is a segue into politics, is the current race for the governorship. Ron DeSantis, this is his last term, And we have quite a few candidates in the race right now, especially on the Republican side. We know who the Democratic nominee is, a gentleman by the name of David Jolly, who previously served as a representative for Florida. So, Audie, break it down for us.
I mean, I'm not following too tightly from it. The main two people that I'm watching is James Fishback and Brian Donalds. I personally feel like Fishback's a better option, mainly because one of Brian Donald's his big thing that he's pushing for his main, I guess, campaign. That might be the wrong word, but he's really trying to push for industrializing and like unifying the process to get building permits to be able to develop more things in Florida. He's trying to make it where instead of, going through a whole bunch of hoops and jumps and all this stuff, you just go on one website, submit whatever. I don't know the exact process, but from my understanding, you just submit whatever you want to build on that one website and it goes through it. In a couple of days, you'll get your acceptance or denial or whatever, and you can build whatever you want. Which personally, like even now already with how difficult it may be, I don't know because I'm not a contractor, but how difficult it may be to build in Florida, we already see a lot of development. Some people may even say overdevelopment in certain areas. So I feel like making one central area to get a permit to make development more mainstream and quicker isn't a good idea personally, as someone that lives here. And one thing that Fishback says that he's going to do whenever he gets into office is preserve a lot of what Florida is, wildlife, swamps, nature, stuff like that. So, and he's like he's against AI servers, which, has been a big issue lately and has been one of the big talking points whenever it comes to nature conservation and everything like that. So personally, that's why I lean towards that, because I think any overdevelopment is bad for anywhere, and Fishback, brings the option of stopping it.
I agree with that. I mean, I've been to 4 Byron Donalds events across Central Florida, and Byron Donalds is very, very charismatic, and I do agree with some of the policies that he does want to maybe bring forth, but I think it's just generally it's more so general policies that you would find more agreeable if you lean conservative, right? Where free market capitalism. What I will say is that he also has been very, very good at responding to not only naysayers but hecklers at the events, which I've actually been very, very impressed with. I have watched quite a few of James Fishback's speeches, and I actually like Fishback. The one thing that I will agree with you wholeheartedly on is the overdevelopment of certain areas, in Central Florida in particular. Yeah. I do not support any data centers being built anywhere in Florida. Yeah. Point blank, period. I think that they consume an enormous amount of resources. They do not provide jobs locally to anybody. Yeah. To anybody living in Florida. And the moment you put a data center up, it will raise electricity bills for everyone in the surrounding area by a substantial amount. It also requires an immense amount of natural resources, one of those resources being water, which is which is the most valuable resource. So with the approvals of some of these data centers that have been built around the country, you've also seen that people have actually lost access to certain rivers, certain streams, and just access to fresh water in general, because the local municipality or the local town wanted the data center to come in because of the economics, and now the entire area is impacted. And then to compound that, it is a huge, huge, huge issue when you take into account the sound pollution that these data centers also create.
I had no idea that sound pollution was an issue with data centers.
They're extremely loud. If you've ever driven past one, you can hear it for miles and miles on end. So can you imagine being a person owning a house in a neighborhood that is a few miles from a data center? You're just constantly dealing with that. And noise pollution is also it's also its own beast. When you're taking into account the health issues that it has on somebody over the long term, being exposed to a decibel level, above a certain degree. So I am very, very against, I can't articulate it enough, like how against data centers I am, especially in Central Florida. So they need to protect. I think what conservatives haven't done a good job of, in particular, is protecting what makes Florida great, which is like the environment. Yeah. Even when you take into account like fishing, right? Being more lax on corporate fisheries, right? Or corporate like seafood companies, and really being hardline on like the local fisher. Right, like you see, like people who get caught maybe having one extra fish or something like that, and of course, they should be abiding by the law, right? Just like any other citizen. But these corporate fisheries,
they get away with it.
They just get away with it. It's not even a conversation. They can overfish, and no one's going to say anything to them
because they do it on such a large scale. I feel like it's almost impossible to keep track unless you're going to have a worker sit there and count every single fish that they have, which I don't think is possible or even logical at all.
So, it brings up a good question, because you are now coming into adulthood, being 18 and now being able to vote. So
with the elections coming in August.
Elections coming in August, right? Well, the primaries are in August, and the actual election will take place, I think, in November, right?
We'll double check on the date.
Yeah, we'll double check on the date. We'll put it on screen. But what are you looking for in a candidate right now? How can they get your vote?
As of right now, in my current age, I don't know.
What are you generation? Are you Gen Z or Alpha?
Yeah,
Okay.
Gen Z. Yeah, I think Gen Alpha is like a little bit past me, 2011 or something like that, and higher. I could be wrong. I don't really know.
Don't make us feel old.
No, I just know my sister is Gen Alpha and she's 16. So
I like the way we had to reset the alphabet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as of right now, and probably they'll change. Like, I can see why a lot of people would want to vote for Brian Donalds, because he has some good policies that he's putting in place that will benefit older people. But as of right now, I really care about the place that I live, especially since I am currently being in college. I'm currently in the process, being in college here in Florida, I'm currently in the process of building my future into more of a career focus of where I want to go into electrical engineering. And what tends to happen is that I'm probably, going to end up getting internships here, having to live here for a little while. And if not getting my permanent job here, getting a job that I'll probably have for a long time while I build experience before I go somewhere else. So I still want to be able to, live here comfortably without getting up in the morning and having to wait like an hour in traffic just to make like a 10-minute, 15-minute drive. And I could be a little bit over exaggerating, but you know what I mean. So I really like to see someone that wants to preserve whatever, and that goes for whatever the state has already rather than trying to bring in more income for the state. Just because obviously, you know, bringing in more income could benefit us, but I think preserving what we already have is more more importance, other than just bringing in more people to come move here. Like, hey, come move here, and then we end up being overpopulated and whatever. So
You're saying provide income to the state, not through just corporate restructuring, but if it's not actually providing a benefit to the citizens of Florida and providing them with jobs, and instead bringing more people from out of state, you want someone who can preserve and actually help what's the citizens of Florida now.
yes, exactly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what.
But that's really good.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, I can see why people like Brian Donalds, especially people that make a lot more money, because he's promising, you know, no property taxes and stuff like that. But as of right now, for my age, I don't pay property taxes, so
Oh, you're gonna have to at some point.
I mean,
Patty,
of course, yeah, but as of right now, I don't know how that feels to pay property taxes, so it's not really a factor for me.
The thing about what you're saying that kind of pisses me off, and it has nothing to do with you personally, but just, you know, the fact that you can see that a portion of the government or something that the government does can be more streamlined, right? If they're saying like, oh, we can make it so much easier for all of you guys to build this, why can't they do that with the rest of the governmental structures?
Yeah.
Why can't they do that with the rest of the structures in
Some of
Florida?
them-
Why does it only have to be the one thing that would provide a benefit to corporations or
Yeah.
people who want to build? Why not make things easier for people to, I don't know, register to vote, go to voting places, know where they're supposed to go, file complaints maybe
Yeah.
that are going to be addressed, things that would actually benefit more so the people and constituents.
Yeah.
I just think that the government has lost a lot of trust over like the last, decade, especially with social media kind of coming to the forefront and, really pushing that narrative of wasteful spending, because it has forced a lot of people to open up their eyes, regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum, of what the government is actually doing for the U.S. citizen. I think you hit a really good point in the fact that anytime government involvement comes into place on the conservative side, it is usually in benefit for the bigger corporations, the tax breaks, the more streamlined approach to getting things done, because they constantly believe in trickle down economics. And to a certain extent, look, as somebody who believes in capitalism, I do agree with that. Like I do agree with less regulation on some fronts, because it opens up the free market, and that will hopefully in turn create more jobs. But what we've seen is that over the last year, especially with the advent of AI, artificial intelligence, they've essentially just used that as an excuse to get rid of jobs and not create any economic opportunity. And you brought something up, which I'm in complete agreement with. You have these big companies that are coming into Florida that are saying, oh, hey, we're relocating from these liberal wastelands like New York and California, and we want to relocate to Florida because of no taxes. But just because a company comes into Florida for the tax breaks doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be creating any jobs down here.
Yeah. Especially like AI data centers, they won't be creating anything. And I think a big thing about that is that like data center companies have been like drooling at the mouth to come to Florida, because we have such a great, I guess, ecosystem. I don't know if that would be the proper word, but to build and sustain those data centers with the swamps and all the water.
Because
and
we're
stuff
only
like
3
that.
feet above water. They're like, let's
Yeah.
go there.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Water.
Yeah.
They're going to be in for a rude awakening come hurricane season.
Oh, that would be funny if they spent all this money to build it and it just gets demolished.
I mean,
by
it's
the hurricane.
a hurricane season is from like April to November. So
Yeah.
majority of the year.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how how all of like these data centers pan out over the next decade, especially with Anthropic and OpenAI finally going public. Because all I know is that they've been losing billions and billions of dollars. So, but AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere.
For better or worse.
For better or worse, we all utilize it.
Streamline the DMV.
I know.
Seriously.
Streamline DBPR. Like there's like no numbers to call these people. You have to set an appointment to figure out what you can do for the next thing. Like let's actually help those government workers, maybe give more jobs to people there.
Yeah. I agree with that. Look, you heard it here. Okay? If you are going to streamline anything, streamline it for the everyday Floridian. We didn't even discuss David Jolly, but I don't think anybody is.
Who even is David Jolly? I don't even know.
David Jolly is the Democratic candidate for governor, so I don't think. I've seen some of his talks, and he hasn't been too appealing to me. But anyway, to everybody who has tuned in to our podcast over the last month, to the new listeners, thank you so much. To the old listeners, we really, really appreciate you. If you guys like what you see, like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Next week, we will be hosting a criminal defense attorney, Rajan Joshi. And we have some other great guests lined up for the ensuing, for the rest of the year, or, for the ensuing weeks. And we really, really appreciate you guys. So thank you so much. Bye.